Welcome back. In the second video, we looked briefly at the use of configuration variables. In this one, you'll see how to set up a test device file to use them. Configuration variables allow you to set circuit-specific values for a device quickly and easily, without having to edit the code in the test device file. They're helpful because a value associated with a device might only be valid for one specific hardware configuration. For example, an I2C device might have an address that's configured via its pins. In that case, the constant defining the address will need a different value depending on how those pins are wired. Go to the Test Device Files screen and open the file by double-clicking on its name. Notice this tab down here called Configuration Variables. Go into that section and you'll see listed any configuration variables that already exist. To create a new one, click Add, and you'll get a dialog in which you can set one up. The variable name needs to match the name used in your XJE's code. Remember too that it's case sensitive. Display name is how it'll be shown during categorization when the user needs to enter a value. You should therefore make sure it's sufficiently descriptive. Then you need to set the type of variable from this drop-down menu. It can either be an integer, a boolean, a string, or a file name. Or, if you want to give the user a list to select from, you can choose either integer list or string list. If you select integer, the user will be allowed to enter an unsigned integer in decimal, hex, or binary format. If you select file name, they'll be able to browse to locate the file. If you set it as boolean, there'll be a checkbox to set it true or false. If you choose to use a list, a section will appear in which you can enter the values. The description field is what will appear in the list, and the value field is what the variable will be set to when that item is selected from the menu. So for example, if the value needs to be 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on what product is being built, you could put model names in the description field so that those are what appear in the menu. That means someone providing values in the future can select something they easily understand from a menu rather than having to know how your test device file was implemented. There are also some optional items that can be entered in the dialog box. First, you can provide an expression that controls when the user will be asked to set the configuration variable. For example, think about a memory. You could have a Boolean configuration variable that determines whether the device is to be programmed. When it's set, the condition could allow a file name to be entered via another configuration variable. And if it's easier to use the inverse of your Boolean, you can do that by selecting this checkbox. Then there's this optional text box. It allows you to provide text for a tooltip that will be displayed when the user is setting the configuration variables. And lastly, you can enter a default value if you want. That's useful if it normally has the same value and will only need changing in rare circumstances. For instance, you might have an I2C device that's nearly always used with its base address, and a different address is only needed occasionally when the same device is used several times in a circuit. Once that's all been entered, click OK, and the configuration variable will be set up for that test device file. You'll also need to save it by clicking the Save icon just above. And that's your initial test device file created. So far, you've set up the bus definitions. Your file may have some XJE's code. You've added references to any additional code files, and now you've created the configuration variables if it needs them. There are just a couple of things left that you need to know about creating test device files. One is how to set up your test device file so that it can appear in the test list. There are criteria a test function must meet for that to happen, and there's a way to set up the test device file so that its test is automatically added to the list. The second point is about how to deal with warning messages. Both of those topics are covered in the next video, which is the final one of this series. I'll see you there.